Multicultural migration grew a sleepy trading post of 800 to a city of over 250,000. These were the first dreamers, innovators, builders, and inventors that defined San Francisco. The San Francisco Historical Society exists to uncover, preserve, and present in engaging ways the colorful and diverse history of our city from its earliest days to the present. As a member, you'll receive The Argonaut, an award-winning publication that has provided in-depth historical accounts for over 30 years. And The Panorama, a quarterly newsletter covering ongoing activities and historical presentations. Go to sfhistory.org and discover the San Francisco Historical Society, giving our history a great future. Become a member today.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. San Francisco, an Odyssey station.
Good morning, area.
It's time to wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game.
Come on!
Oh, yeah. Let's go. He's back. It's the Pregame Show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game. And let's get started real quick here, folks. Andrew Wiggins has returned. He is back. And thus, the Warriors' championship hopes have returned. Ask and you shall receive, Dub Nation. Andrew Wiggins, the second best player for the Golden State Warriors during that playoff run and during that championship run last season, is coming back to the Golden State Warriors. It's been quite a month. It's been quite a year, let's just say that, for the Golden State Warriors. Started off with a punch to a teammate from One Punch Man himself, Draymond Green, to Jordan Poole. It started off with a horrible first couple months of the season. You still can't win on the road. Steph Curry gets hurt. A subluxation sensation. Shout out Tim Roy. That's a buck. Shout out Willard and Dibbs. You had Klay Thompson going through it early in the season. Then he's en fuego the last few months. Now he's kind of cooled back down. Jordan Poole starting, coming off the bench. He looked like he regressed a little bit. Dante DiVincenzo, he looks like he could be a player. And then you bring Gary Payton back in the fold, and DiVincenzo looks unsure of himself. There's been so many mixes. I didn't even mention, Gary Payton II, you got him. And then James Wiseman, see you later. And now Andrew Wiggins, who was gone a month, is back in the fold for the Golden State Warriors. And I need to hear from Dub Nation this morning at 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. And I was thinking long and hard about how I was going to open the show today. Obviously, the San Francisco Giants, tremendous win, 12-3 over the Chicago White Sox. Bombs away. Oh my, how many home runs do they have? Like 25? Got a grand slam in there? Yeah, it was windy in the Windy City yesterday, and it was all in favor of the San Francisco Giants. Big win for them as they move back to 500, 2-2 on the season. So we will get into them absolutely. Mike Yastrzemski joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday. Going to hear from him a little bit later in the show. He had some good things to say about the win there. Interesting season thus far. Didn't look good in the Bronx, but nice bounce back win to start a series. Weird day off. Not very often that you still have one game other than opening day. Usually you have that like they did with the Yankees, and then you have that Friday off, but then you have a Tuesday off after you have a Monday game. I don't know. It's weird. Baseball's weird, but I'm into it. The pitch clock, everything. We had the A's fall into the Cleveland Guardians yesterday in extra innings, and I saw Seth Brown get called out on a strike 3 for a pitch clock violation. I guess he wasn't looking at the pitcher at the 8-second count, and if you're not looking at the pitcher and you're not in the box by that point, then they tag on a strike, and he got called strike 3. That counts as a strikeout, by the way, to the pitcher. Did not know that, so good looking out for the Cleveland Guardians pitcher there. A's 1-3 to start the season. It's going to be a long year in Oakland. I think we all kind of knew that. But again, what's going on the field is far less important than what's going on off and just hoping they could stay here in the Bay Area. But the biggest news to strike yesterday, Andrew freaking Wiggins. He is back. And Anthony Slater joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, and this is what he had to say about his return and how it's been trending for the last couple weeks.
I would say the last couple weeks there's been increased hinting behind the scenes of like, he could, don't rule it out, but also he hadn't shown yet. So you got a sense that they were not closing the door, and there was a reason they weren't closing the door. And I'd say over the last week or so, this clearly has, somewhat been kind of targeted this week, but it's still kind of, we're waiting for it to become a little bit more official, and it seems it will be, and the plan is for him to show up in the next 24 hours and attend the game tomorrow night, not necessarily play in it.
That is Anthony Slater, our 95.7 The Game Warriors insider. He's more tapped in than anybody. Love Anthony and all he does here for the station. And yeah, he felt like the way they were talking about it the last couple of weeks, that they weren't ruling it out, kind of left the door open for him to return. Now, what does that mean? He's coming back to a team that struggled mightily on the road, even when he was a part of the team earlier in the season. So it's not a cure-all, but it's definitely a confidence boost, right? Am I tripping about that? Like, if you're a Warriors fan this morning, if you're a Warriors fan yesterday morning, was when the news broke, right before the morning roast had to bounce. We had about 10 minutes left. They get their quick thoughts in. But it was like, oh my God. Sam Lubman, oh my God. He didn't even say what was happening. Producer extraordinaire for the morning roast and co-host of Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys here at 95.7 The Game, a Giants podcast. Check that out. Big win yesterday, him and Joe Shasky. But he was just like, oh my God, breaking news. I was like, what the hell's going on? Just tell me what the hell. Andrew Wiggins back. Hit the breaking news sounder, and it was a freaking awesome day. Like, that is what we live for here in sports talk radio. Stories like that breaking, and it's just a layup for us in the business here. So Andrew Wiggins returning. What's it mean? Well, it helps their title chances. I can tell you that. They weren't winning one without him. Absolutely not. They were not winning a title without Andrew Wiggins. Now, I'm pretty confident in saying this on April 4th. I think this is my brother's birthday, by the way. April 4th, 2023. Yeah, good brother alert. I think it's his birthday. Sorry, I have 9 siblings here, folks. Give me a break. Got a lot of them. 6 brothers, 3 sisters. It's a lot of birthdays, parents, cousins. It's a lot. I can barely remember my own kids' birthdays. Give me a break. Rob, happy birthday if you're listening. But I'm confident in saying on April 4th, 2023, 5:06 a.m. in the year of our Lord, on Easter week, a couple days ahead of Good Friday, Andrew Wiggins returning to the Golden State Warriors means the Warriors will be in the NBA Finals. Book it, lock it in, do whatever you got to do. The Golden State Warriors will be back in the NBA Finals. All those other teams in the Western Conference, they had their chances. They had their chances to show up until this point why they should be the ones to represent the Western Conference in the finals. I haven't seen that from any of these teams. In fact, other than maybe the Denver Nuggets, but still, it's the Nuggets. I don't think they've ever played in an NBA Finals. You can Google that for me, but in my lifetime, they haven't. Been in Western Conference Finals, I believe, with Melo, or was that the semifinals? I think that was the finals. Back in the George Karl days. They lost to Kobe. But these teams had their chances to distance themselves or create a, not separation, but grab the eyes of all the fans around the world to say, listen, this is our year. The Phoenix Suns, that was the team we all looked at. Kevin Durant, we were looking at that acquisition like, okay, Suns, you guys are already penciled in. Now, a lot of people still have the Suns there, and we've barely seen Kevin Durant play with that team. But just because they have that guy and Devin Booker and Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, we'll wait to see what happens in that first round. It could potentially be a Warriors-Suns first-round matchup. It could be a Clippers-Suns. It could be a Lakers-Suns. God, that'd be something. LeBron and KD, who haven't played each other in like 5 years, it seems like. That would be pretty freaking awesome in the first round, especially if you're a Warriors fan and you're hoping you get the 6th seed to avoid that. So I have no problem saying right here on the pregame show that with the addition of Andrew Wiggins back in the fold for the Golden State Warriors, And whenever he returns, whether it's next week, it sounded like from Anthony Slater said there, they're going to have to ramp him up a little bit. And in fact, here's what the ramp up would look like. And here's Anthony Slater again, who was on with Willard and Dibbs yesterday, our 95.7 The Game Warriors insider, talking about the ramp up period for Andrew Wiggins and what it might look like.
They don't know because Rick Celebrini makes those decisions, like when guys are greenlit to play again. And Rick Celebrini hasn't been around them for, at this point, 48, 49 days. Now he's told them that he's been in Minneapolis. He's been working out with a trainer. But that's not an NBA game. I mean, that's not a pennant race type atmosphere. So I think he needs to get a couple workouts in, let Rick Celebrini see where he is. That's checkpoint number one, like just physically where's he at. And then they'll probably come up with a ramp-up plan that, comes from a very cautious approach of Rick Celebrini. I mean, you guys follow the team. He's generally on the cautious side. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him this week.
Would not be surprised if you don't see him this week, and I think that makes sense. Again, Warriors still got to take care of their end of the bargain here. They got a couple games remaining. One of them starts tonight, Warriors Live, 6 o'clock. Warriors Thunder at Chase Center. JD will get us started at 6 o'clock here on 95.7 The Game before tossing it over to the great Tim Roy, voice of the Golden State Warriors, who will be on the call at tip-off, which is 7 o'clock. And then again, we'll have all that pre- and post-game coverage right here on 95.7 The Game. And YouTube, Twitch. Be remiss if I didn't say hello to you guys this morning. You beautiful, beautiful people. Morali, Drew Blevins, EJ, all you guys. Carl, love you. Love all of you. Spadoni's talking like Wiggins is Jordan. Well, for this team, he's the Scottie Pippen. I mean, that's what he was last year in the finals. And throughout the playoffs, he absolutely was the Warriors' second best player. Don't get it twisted. It wasn't Draymond. It wasn't Klay Thompson. It was Andrew freaking Wiggins when he was baptizing Luka Doncic, a la Jesus and John Baptist. Like, that's what happened last year in the finals. Do we all forget that? Do we all forget how impactful this guy was in the playoffs last season? I think we're sleeping a little bit. And it's not like Andrew Wiggins' game is going to be, he's been gone a month now. It's not going to it's going to decline that rapidly. Yeah, there'll be a ramp-up period, like Slater said, with athletic trainer Rick Celebrini. But his game is not predicated on, he has to have that shot going like Steph constantly or Klay. No, he can add and fit. He's a third scoring option on this team. Like, it's Steph, it's Klay, and then it's Wiggins. Like, that's what it's always been. But what separates Andrew Wiggins and what separated him last year, especially in the NBA Finals, is that two-way play. His defense was spectacular on Jason Tatum, on Jaylen Brown. His switching ability is massive for this team. And we've been talking about it during his absence. They are missing that defender. Like, God bless Gary Payton II. He's 6'2". And they don't say like he has his wingspan. No. Fact of the matter is, when he was trying to guard a guy like Michael Porter Jr. against the Denver Nuggets the other night, it wasn't happening. Now, granted, Michael Porter Jr. is 6'10", so he does that to most people. But a guy like Andrew Wiggins on him, would make things a lot more difficult. He's big, he's strong, and he showed why he was so important to the Warriors last season. I think we forgot during this absence how important he was to the team. Check that. We didn't forget. We realized how important he was to this team. So don't go and tell me that this isn't a big deal. It's a massive freaking deal that Andrew Wiggins is back with the Golden State Warriors. On the Comcast Business Text line, 888-957-9570, by the way, if you would like to get involved, that is the call number as well. So please, give me your thoughts, give me your calls, 888-957-9570. Andrew Wiggins is back, and that means the Golden State Warriors will be back in the NBA Finals. That's my thoughts. What say you? 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Here's more from our 95.7 The Game Warriors insider, Anthony Slater, who was with, again, Willard and Dibbs yesterday, talking about how they will avoid the play-in game, and that would help Andrew Wiggins.
If they do get the 6th seed or the 5th seed, if they just stay out of the play-in, then they actually have a very, nice buffer before the playoffs. You guys remember last year, Steph missed the last, 22 games, something like that, after he sprained his foot. But they got him back in those big-time practices right before the playoffs. Those are like training camp-style practices because you have 5 days off. And then he played game 1 of the playoffs after a long absence. maybe it trends that way, but again, they're not going to know till they kind of get their hands on him. And, you know, he hasn't been in the facility in more than a month. So they'll know more in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, don't look for him to play tonight. By the way, again, Warriors Thunder tonight. Chase Center covers that, starts at 6 o'clock with Warriors Live and John Dickinson. But don't expect him to play. I mean, Shams, he had the tweet yesterday. Like, he's going to attend the game. That was the key word in that phrase. Like, he expects to attend the Thunder Warriors game, so you probably will see him on the bench or something like that. But just good to see him in the building. And I went back to the word confidence, and it's a boost of confidence for this team. Just seeing a guy like that had so much impact in a championship run for you last season. I mean, this season has just had so many ups and downs. And that Wiggins thing just obviously still being the most just unusual of them all. Now we know why. He was dealing with a serious medical situation pertaining to his father, and that is why he was out. That was per Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. So obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Wiggins and his family, like they've always been. You know, it was pretty ridiculous, the rumors and what people were trying to say and trying to equate to Andrew Wiggins and his family. It's just gross. Like, let's please, until we know the facts, the speculation needs to stop. We never speculate on the show. We didn't speculate on the morning roast. If there was a caller that tried to speculate, we got him out of here. Like, it was none of that. But as it pertained to the basketball court, that's what we talked about. We talked about Wiggins' absence on the court, and that was glaring and most apparent on the defensive end. Like, their defense without Andrew Wiggins, my God. There'd be times here and there where they were capable, but that was only because Draymond Green had a hell of a play or Jonathan Kuminga was locking up someone. And by the way, this is another little layer to this now that we're on Jonathan Kuminga. Andrew Wiggins' return, although massive and huge for the Warriors, and they could not make a championship run without him, does create some issues, let's just say. Or let's just say an opportunity. Maybe that's a nicer word to say for Steve Kerr. An opportunity to see what you have in your bag, if you will. Let's see what Steve Kerr has in his bag when it comes to some of these lineups. Because with the return of Andrew Wiggins means guys like Jonathan Kuminga, like Dante DiVincenzo, like Gary Payton II, they're going to have to be mixed and matched a lot. Now, does that ruin the confidence of a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, who seems like he's playing his best ball of his career the last month? We're seeing that three-point stroke go in and more. We're seeing that defense ramp up even more. So what does that mean for guys like a Jonathan Kuminga and Dante DiVincenzo? Let me know. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Can the Andrew Wiggins addition create more problems than solutions? It's an interesting notion. I was listening to Steiny and Guru yesterday, and Steiny immediately said to me, like, when he heard this Andrew Wiggins news, he's like, that's going to be tough for Jonathan Kuminga. I was like, I didn't think about it like that, but leave it to Steiny to think about some of the problems there initially when Andrew Wiggins returns. Everyone's thinking about the solutions part. I was like, Steiny's like, he's looking at the big picture. And he has a good point, because Jonathan Kuminga has been playing the best ball of his career. He's been having a lot more minutes. He's been getting into the starting lineups more. Like, he was getting DNPs earlier this season. And with the absence of Andrew Wiggins, that created an opportunity for him. And he flourished in that opportunity. Now, with Andrew Wiggins back, you would think that he would get back into the fold and get back into the starting lineup. Again, all predicated on if they get that week off, if they stay out of that play-in game tournament. We shall see. Starts tonight at Chase Center against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then you got the Kings light the beam before Sunday going to Portland and wrapping up the regular season. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Jonathan Kuminga, Dante DiVincenzo, expect their minutes to fluctuate here and there. Now, again, you heard Anthony Slater there talking about ramping up. There's a chance he doesn't even play at all this week. Maybe he comes back if there is a play-in game, but the hope would probably be to get some work in these next 2 weeks and be ready for game one of round one of the NBA playoffs. From the Comcast business text line, 650, Andrew Wiggins' return means less of Anthony Lamb. Correct. I would agree with that. Although, Steve Kerr loves him some Anthony Lamb. I'm hesitant. Obviously, like, yes, Wiggins is going to have a tremendous amount of minutes. The minutes that Anthony Lamb was playing are going to be reduced significantly. But I'm not ready to close the door on the Anthony Lamb minutes completely. He will play. It will be a lot less of him, though, to your point, 650 on the Comcast Business text line. I'm more interested in guys like Jonathan Kuminga, how they react to that, because Kuminga has been massive for this team, and I think he has a huge role to play still in these playoffs. Let's say one of these guys gets in foul trouble. Let's say you need this guy's defense. Where's Andrew Wiggins at physically? Is he ready to jump right in and start guarding guys like a Kevin Huerter or a De'Aaron Fox or switching on to a Spadoni? All these guys that you could potentially be playing round one in Sacramento, or hell, whoever you're playing, whether it's Memphis, whether it's the Nuggets, all these big physical teams, you got to see where you got with Andrew Wiggins and his health. 209 on the Comcast Business text line. Give us a call there at 888-957-9570 as well. Let's go. Super stoked when the Wiggins news came out. They still need to win 2 out of 3, but I have no doubt they will get that done. Ready for tonight's game, LFG. It's exciting. Like, you can just feel a boost of energy, not just with the players probably, but with this fan base. They were down in the dumps. That Nuggets lost, my God. And I know we were telling ourselves here in the Bay Area, Warriors fans specifically, just get us to the playoffs and, we'll see what happens. We still got Steph, Dre, and Clay. If Wiggins doesn't come back, you were kind of lying to yourselves, right, Warriors fans? Let's be honest now that Wiggins is coming back. You were lying to yourselves. You knew deep down without Wiggins, maybe we could beat the Kings, but after that, yikes. So you can let me know. You can let it out. Mitchell on the YouTube chat, Lamb won't get any minutes. Ernie Chavez, it was a speculation sensation with Wiggins and the rumors. Yeah, we don't need to get into that. Morali, Spadoni, if the Clippers lose tonight, that's a huge thing for the Warriors in the standings. And the only person will be happy is you, I believe. The Lakers can shake it. Everyone in the state, they can shake it up. This whole thing in the standings, listen, we got a couple games left. It's got a baseball kind of feel to it. A September, pennant race, division race, what have you, where every game matters. Your scoreboard watching finally in this final week. And yeah, here's what the NBA schedule looks like tonight and how it affects things around the West. Starting at 5 o'clock in New Orleans. I don't think they even say that. It's New Orleans, or no one says New Orleans down there, but if you're from New Orleans, hit me up. Is New Orleans, do people actually say it like that, or is that just a tourist thing? The Kings, they're there. They're taking on the Pelicans. That starts at 5, so obviously the New Orleans Pelicans, and they are currently the 8th seed, tied with the Lakers at 40-38. Lakers have the tiebreaker over them, obviously, but that's a huge one for them as they're looking to climb up in those standings. You got the Memphis Grizzlies pretty much locked in. They're playing the Blazers. They're pretty much locked into the 2 seed at this point. Nuggets, they're locked into the 1. But the bigger ones are tonight. Utah Jazz, Los Angeles Lakers in Utah. You got the Thunder at Chase Center, and then you got the Spurs at the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns basically are kind of locked into that 4 spot. It's going to be interesting to see how they play this because they still haven't had a lot of time with KD and all these guys. So they just continue to play every single game like it matters most, or will they be in a position here because they do take on the Los Angeles Clippers and Los Angeles Lakers this week? Will they be in a position, the Phoenix Suns, to dictate who they want to play round 1? Obviously, this all pertains to what happens in these next 2 games. But starting Friday, when the Phoenix Suns are in Crypto.com Arena, I believe, to take on the Los Angeles Lakers, will they be in an opportunity to say, like, we can lay down against this team or lay down against the Clippers? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if they can dictate who they want to face round 1 in the NBA playoffs. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. JB believes Wiggins will play on Friday. We shall see. That would be great news. That would be awesome. That game's going to be fiery, by the way. I think Mike Brown is going to have those boys ready up and play. You might think Spadoni, they don't need to play for anything. Sabonis, Fox, rest them. I think they're going to take that game personal. There's a very good chance that they play the Golden State Warriors in the first round. They have been hearing all the noise from every single team that says they want to face the Sacramento Kings in round 1. I shouldn't say every single team. Every single team's fan base wants them to play the Kings round 1. And I think those Kings players, and Mike Brown's going to use that as motivation, and I believe they want to play the Golden State Warriors round 1. I believe they want to. They want that smoke. Now, with the addition of Andrew Wiggins, do they still want it? That I am not sure. But I think that team is very, very confident in their ability to pull out games late. De'Aaron Fox has been the best clutch player all season. Has he been the most improved player? Probably. I know Bonte Hill of the Morning Roast, along with Joe Shasky, and they're going to be on this station here in about 40 minutes. They're fired up. Big Giants win, and the Warriors taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. The Fighting Josh Giddey's, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dortz, all those guys. But he was talking about Kevon Looney being the most improved player this year. I think it's probably De'Aaron Fox. Looney's not a bad call at all. He's been awesome this season. Double-double machine. It seems like he looks like he is the greatest offensive rebounder in the history of the NBA at times during some of these games. But De'Aaron Fox, my man, hats off to him, because early on in that tenure, and it's tough being the guy in a market that has stunk for a long time in Sacramento, and to be that guy on that team along with Sabonis, it's been special to watch. It's been fun to watch, and I cannot wait for a potential first-round series between the Golden State Warriors and Sacramento Kings, and we get potentially a preview of that this Friday. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Anthony Slater, again, who joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, our 95.7 The Game Warriors insider, talking about how Wiggins' return could affect the Warriors locker room.
I think it injects some belief that, you know, a title run, as ambitious or unrealistic even at times as it seemed over the last several months, the pieces are at least coming together where it's not out of the question. You know, if there's no Andrew Wiggins in the playoffs, you know, I'm sure Steph Curry, Draymond will still believe they had a puncher's chance. But, you know, as an unbiased observer, I think we all know, like, if your two-way wing that was so awesome in the playoffs last season is not there, I didn't think they had a chance in the West. The fact that he's going to show up, at least I think a glimmer of hope is there, and that usually injects the locker room with some life. Also, just seeing Andrew Wiggins, he's a very well-liked figure over the last, you know, couple of years since he's joined the franchise. So it should help, but at the same time, I'm also skeptical the version of Andrew Wiggins we saw last April is going to show up, because, I mean, even before he just left for 50 days, he wasn't having that great of a season. He had the groin injury. He had, you know, he looked rusty when he came back. He got sick a couple times. Like, he was already out of rhythm. He really hasn't been in a rhythm since, like, December.
Absolutely. That's Anthony Slater there from Willard and Dibbs, our 95.7 The Game Warriors insider. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back. More Wiggins talk. Take a quick dip into the San Francisco Giants. Big win for them yesterday over the Chicago White Sox, 12-3. And a certain Giant joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, and we're going to hear his reaction to that. He had a home run yesterday. His grandfather is a Hall of Famer. You may have heard of him. Played in Boston. Big shot there. 888-957-9570. Comcast Business Text Line. Keep firing up there. YouTube, Twitch, hello. Give me a follow at Spadoni_Joe on Twitter. This is the pregame show with Joe Spadoni. Come on back. 95.7 The Game.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit?
Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network.
Go on.
Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my...
95.7 The Game.
In the place to be. Oh, yeah.
Welcome back. Pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game. Andrew Wiggins has returned, so let's all get down. Shout out Mac Dre. I stated last segment, and let me know what you think at 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570, as well as Twitch and YouTube. Hello, how you doing? And give me a follow at Spadoni_Joe on Twitter. The Golden State Warriors are going back to the NBA Finals. That's what Andrew Wiggins returning means to this team. I believe it. I'm locking it in. I'm placing wagers. I'm doing it all. The Golden State Warriors will be back in the NBA Finals with Andrew Wiggins. I am that confident. I am that unsure about the rest of the Western Conference. What say you to that? 888-957-9570. We'll continue to take your calls and texts there as it pertains to Andrew Wiggins. Wanted to touch on a little San Francisco Giants here as they defeated the Chicago White Sox 12-3 in the south side of Chicago and just bombs away. And it started real early with Jock Peterson.
Here's the payoff. Swinging a high drive. Deep to right. Out of here. And the Giants lead 1-0.
Dwayne Kuiper on the call there for NBC Sports Bay Area. Giants hammer the Chicago White Sox 12-3. The offensive explosion in Chicago was desperately needed after 2 shutouts in the Bronx over this past weekend. Again, they have an off day today. Kind of weird, but we'll take it because the Warriors play the Thunder. So everyone will be watching that game tonight. And you can listen to that game right here on 95.7 The Game, starting at 6 o'clock with Warriors Live. John Dickinson has that before tossing it over to the great Tim Roy at Warriors Vox, who'll be on the call at 7 o'clock here on 95.7 The Game. So, Mike Yastrzemski, much maligned, right? This guy was an MVP candidate in that bubble year. Maybe you didn't think much of it because it was the bubble year. I know a lot of you around here, much ire around both championships for both LA teams as it pertains to the Lakers winning one in South Beach and the Dodgers winning one in Texas. But nonetheless, Yaz had his best season that year and the season prior, obviously, in 2019. But the last few, it's been a struggle. And it was nice to see him break out of his little funk yesterday in Chicago.
Down the line. That's going to be a fair ball. And a run in for the Giants as Yastrzemski rolls into second base with a double. Yes, hits one high. Hits it deep. Out of here. Kopak immediately looked in the dugout.
Oh, the Boo Birds were out in force yesterday in Chicago. That's a great sound if you're an opposing fan base or an opposing team. Those boos are tremendous. They're like cheers. They're even better than cheers at home is a boo on the road, I think. It's much more endearing. It means you matter. That's fun. Good for Yaz yesterday breaking out a little fun. He's been solid to start the year. Yeah, he's been a little solid, making some contact there. And that's what all that we need from these Giants are to make contact. And they made a lot of it yesterday. And the grand force of them all, David VR. Come on, give me the salami.
If Giants fans have missed the fifth was where it all happened. They hit 4 home runs in the 5th inning. It was historic. And another one. High and deep. And out of here. And that's a grand slam.
That was a grand slam, but the Giants weren't done yet. Here's Bryce Johnson to cap off the day.
First at bat for Bryce Johnson. And he hammers one to right. Back is Colas, and it is out of here. And it's home run derby here in Chicago.
Got to respect the Chicago fans that stayed till then. 12-3 there, the final score. 5 more runs in the 9th inning, and those Boo Birds were still loud in the 9th. And Mike Yastrzemski teased it earlier. He joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday and talked about the key to the team's 7 home runs in the South Side yesterday.
kind of a dreary day, and we flew in last night, so I think no one was trying too hard, and that's sometimes the best recipe. You just go in there and trust what you have for that day.
Not trying too hard. You hear that sometimes. It's, think harder, think smarter, not harder. Easy enough for me to say. I'm struggling at 5 a.m. this morning getting that phrase. You think smarter and not harder, right? Or just don't even think at all. Kind of have a mindless approach, like Steve Kerr was saying about the Golden State Warriors being mindless. But sometimes that helps. Just tuning out all the noise. You're pressing too much. Just go up there. Hey, look for your pitch. Go after it, and that's what Yaz did, and that's what the Giants did yesterday. It felt like they were pressing too much against the Yankees. Maybe that had a lot to do with what the Yankees were doing. Garrett Cole, he's a hell of a pitcher, and he's going to find his spots more often than not, and he did, and give credit to that Yankees pitching staff over the past weekend. But it takes two to tango, and the Giants just didn't play well. They didn't. They know that. Gabe Kapler said as much after the game. But Yaz, he was absolutely right. Just kind of space out, see what you got going, let the pitches come to you, and they did that yesterday to big effect. And here's him talking about being the home run being a part of the San Francisco Giants' identity.
I don't necessarily think it's part of the philosophy, but just a result of good at-bats and good training. We've got great hitting coaches, and, obviously Farhan sees great talent, so we've got a lot of talented guys, and I think it's just one of those things where you just try and put together good at-bats for the guy behind you, the guy in front of you, and good things just start to roll.
You just look back to that 2021 season where they had the 100-plus wins, 107, 150, whatever it was, but they just hit the snot out of the ball that entire season. They were just hitting jacks left and right, clutch ones, Lamont Wade, late night Lamont, we get all that. And Yaz really didn't have a great year that year either. He just, the last couple of years just haven't been great. So if he can get it going, that would create a tremendous offensive production output from a spot where they desperately need it. If you're playing every day pretty much, you need offensive production. You can't just be a defensive guy out there. You need to hit. You need to hit for power like we've seen from Yaz in years past. So it's great to see that. Here's more from him talking about what it was like playing opening day at Yankee Stadium.
That was pretty cool. It was obviously it was a tough day when you got to face Garrett Cole, but it was a really cool experience to play there, and it was surreal. The crowd was great, and I never really. There were a few places where you go through the big leagues and they're a little more underwhelming, but there's nothing that's really as big of a stage as Yankee Stadium, and that was really cool to experience.
What were the underwhelming stadiums that you went to, Yaz? Was it across the bay there in Oakland, that Coliseum? Actually, no. Actually, I would not say it's underwhelming because the Bay Bridge Series, say what you want, fans show out. That's actually a fun environment. The stadium might suck, but it's fun. The fans get into it. There is a playoff-type atmosphere at times when it's super packed at the Collie or at Oracle Park, so it's probably not that one. But there are some stinker stadiums, like the White Sox Stadium. I haven't been there, but I've heard from many people it's just very bland and blasé. Obviously, it's not the spectacle that is Wrigley Park, Wrigley Field, whatever you want to call it there. So, yes, Yankee Stadium, even though it is the new Yankee Stadium, still has that allure, and obviously he's got the family ties. His grandpa being Carl Yastrzemski, the relationship there between the Red Sox, the Yankees, all of that history. It's pretty freaking cool. And finally from Yaz, again, who joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday right here on 95.7 The Game. If you'd like to find that interview, by the way, be sure to download that Odyssey app. Favorite 95.7 The Game for all your Warriors, Giants, San Francisco 49ers coverage, all right there at the tap of a finger. But Yaz on the pitch clock 4 games in. Big fan of the pitch clock. How are the players liking it?
I think it's been fine. I don't really know if I've seen much of a difference in terms of, how the game's actually being played, but I was told from some family that they'd be like, well, we blinked and the game was over.
Yeah.
Like they didn't enjoy it at the field, but they enjoyed it when they watched it on TV. They explained it as, with the way that ticket prices are and beer prices and everything. It's like, if you're going to go to 1 or 2 games a year, and that's what they're really hoping for. They want to enjoy that ballpark experience and be there for as long as possible. And, some people think that way, some people don't, but I thought that was an interesting take.
Was an interesting take, and I think you got to look at it from the consumer perspective on the television. Everyone's not going to 162 games, and you only got 81 of them at home. Cut that in a half or cut that in a quarter, and that's usually what the average fan is going to be attending. Hell, the average fan is probably going to go to maybe 2 or 3, 5 games maybe a year. So yes, most of it is going to be watched on television, and that is why it is so useful, the pitch clock that is. All right, one more segment here coming up, the crossover, and I'm ready to tell Joe Shasky my take on Andrew Wiggins returning, what it means for the Golden State Warriors. And what does it mean? It means they're going to the NBA Finals. Let me know your thoughts. 888-957-9570. Andrew Wiggins is back. Want to get his thoughts on the Giants' explosion in the south side of Chicago yesterday. That's all coming up next, right here on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Since first opening its doors in 1964, Fremont Bank has approached banking with a simple idea in mind. Growth comes one customer.
Welcome back. Pre-game show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game. One more segment here for you before tossing over to the morning roast. And they're roasting. The Giants, they're roasting on offense. The Warriors, hell, they're going to be roasting in a couple months. Maybe a championship, maybe not. But they are absolutely going to the NBA Finals. As Joe Shasky's going to join me here in a moment for the crossover. I want to get his thoughts on that take. On the Warriors taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. And coverage of that starts at 6 o'clock with Warriors Live. John Dickinson, he'll have that pregame coverage for you before tossing over to the great Tim Roy, voice of the Golden State Warriors here on 95.7 The Game. Tip-off at 7. And obviously we'll have the Warriors wrap up after that game with John Dickinson taking your calls on hopefully a Warriors win. Feels like this is the game that if they win, you feel pretty confident about them winning one of their next two. So if you win tonight, Joe Shasky, you're feeling pretty damn good about their chances of getting hopefully that 6th seed.
God, they need to win tonight.
It's a tough one, right? Like, you want to feel like they should win this game. Like, you get the confidence boost. Andrew Wiggins is coming back. He's not going to play tonight. They said attend the game, and maybe just seeing him on the bench there will help. But Josh Giddey, I know he's a sore subject when it comes to him, when it comes to you and him, right? Not your favorite player. He's a hell of a player, though. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, all these guys, they got size.
Josh the hair.
He's got beautiful hair, though. Let's just give him that. He comes from the land down under as well, so that's always good. But he's a good player. Like he is. He got a triple-double like early against the season. He had like almost 20 assists against him. He gets into the lane, so this is not a gimme game for the Golden State Warriors. Although they play better at home. Like, on the road, you would say, oh, God, they're in trouble. But they do play like a championship contender at home. I'll say that.
There's no gimmies on the schedule.
No gimmies.
You've watched this team this year. So, no, this will be a good one. I'd be very interested to see, if they announce Andrew Wiggins even on the bench, like in between timeouts or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming at some point the crowd's going to give him a huge reception.
Yes. Yeah. No, that'd be great. But just to see him in the building and whether he's just sitting there with his teammates, just seeing a smile on his face, you're hoping, because the guy's been through a lot. I mean, we heard he's been going through a serious medical situation pertaining to his father. Like, that's scary.
Can we stop for a second there?
Sure.
So it's interesting. If we even tried to broach the subject, the topic, people would lose their minds. But yet we've given amnesty to Shams Charania. Is that how it works? Because eventually a national guy was going to get the scoop or get the information and go out there. I'm more fascinated with the journalism and the morality and the ethics regarding the whole situation. Because let's say, had someone locally gotten that information and brought it out, do you think there would be backlash for putting it out there? Because it feels like obviously Shams was given some sort of, not green light, but some sort of an okay from everyone or from someone involved in the situation to be able to put that out there.
Sorry, not to cut you off. It has to have been from someone very credible. So we could all agree that if it's coming from Woj or Shams, chances are it's going to be legit, right? So if we're going from someone local,
no doubt.
If it was from an Anthony Slater, our 95.7 Game insider here, who had a great conversation with Willard and Dibbs yesterday, yes, we would give it a credible. Marcus Thompson, credible. If it came from me on the pregame show that I found out this information, you think I'd be getting crushed? I might be. Like, even though if I like, me, I wouldn't lie about that sort of thing. Like, I wouldn't present that information. But yes, I would expect to get people to crush or come down my road because I'm a nobody. I haven't built up that sort of reputation that people can trust me when it comes to sources and stuff like that. So yes, the messenger, to your point, it does matter where it's coming from.
I agree with that.
So that's I guess would be my take on it. It does matter where the message is coming from.
But did you see anyone out? Because if we even tried to broach the topic, not even what it was, just the Wiggins topic, we were slammed with privacy issues.
Yes, but I think there is a difference between speculating aloud on it.
I agree.
Than coming from straight that this is a fact. This is what was going on. Like, that's what it was coming down from Shams yesterday. Like, that was what happened. He's presenting that as fact.
No, I agree with you.
So I'm sorry. I hope I'm answering the question in a way.
No, you didn't. But you can see where I'm confused.
A little.
As someone who talks about this on a daily basis, I felt like the entire topic was filled with landmines of people trying to be outraged for the sake of being outraged.
Yes. When we were here at the station, we're just talking about how it pertained on the court. We weren't even speculating.
No.
It was a caller or two would call in and speculate, and then we would run them off real quick. But even just bringing up the subject, you're right. It was chaos.
It was. And there were certain people that I considered to be virtue signaling at every single turn about privacy and X, Y, and Z. And it's just, I find media, the coverage of certain topics to be fascinating. Maybe I'm the only one. I could be standing out on our own.
No.
Like in the real world, the funny thing is the irony. I had a golf tournament this weekend. In the real world, what do you think was the number one topic?
Yeah, it was Andrew Wiggins. Everyone was talking to you,
Every single person said, Joe, what is going on with Andrew Wiggins? Is he coming back? When's he coming back? Is he coming back? What's going on? Like, and now you can be like, oh, that's gossip. And no, people just like genuinely want to know.
Yeah, no, well, it's interesting because
I think it's human nature.
No, it's absolutely human nature, and everyone wants to know, and this is a huge storyline, and we talked about it as it pertained to this market, particularly the Bay Area. We're more sensitive, and we have the reputation of being more sensitive to mental health, stuff like that, which is good, but also when you look at other markets, and hell, even Los Angeles, which is in California, which also has a good reputation about that sort of stuff, it's if you're covering the Lakers, it's a whole different animal. Oh, like if this was
the
let's
Dallas
just say,
Cowboys.
If this was, let me put a player out there that's even a comp to Wiggins. Let's say D'Angelo Russell.
Okay,
he was out for a month and no one knew, and he had just traded for him. You don't think that would be the biggest story in Los Angeles? And you don't think people would be hammering to find out the details about that? They would be asking LeBron or Anthony Davis or every single availability.
Yeah, I do.
People would be asking about that.
You're right. Yes.
Now, whether that's okay or not, I don't know whether that's designed. I think it's legit. I think it's okay because it's a big story. Like we had Frank Isola last week, right? He said he would feel like it would be appropriate in any market to ask every single day about the status of Andrew Wiggins.
Yes.
People around here would say you're being insensitive, where Frank would argue, no, this is pertaining to basketball. They need this player on the court.
Exactly.
Are they getting him back or not? So to your point, it's a very interesting and fascinating landscape to kind of dissect about where we're at in society, what's okay to ask and stuff like that. No, it's interesting.
I never sat in a classroom and learned the ins and outs of journalism, right? I don't pretend I'm an entertainer. I don't consider myself, I'm an opinion giver. Like that's what I do here every single day, right? I don't do journalism. Journalism is something that I'm very fascinated by, whether it be political journalism, whether it be historical journalism, broadcast journalism, sports journalism. I find the entire profession to be fascinating, and I've had side conversations with Nick Friedel, for example, who I believe to be a great journalist. Right?
Love
and
Nick.
Anthony
Nick.
Slater, great journalist.
Yes.
Like we talk with these guys. Andrew Bagley. I just read a Melissa Lockhart entire journalist article about the Giants farm system that was fascinating.
Yes.
So I am intrigued by the profession.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I found it fascinating. But my God, do they need them?
Oh, do they need them?
My God.
Yeah, I'm on this morning, and I'm saying it with my chest out, the Warriors are going to the NBA Finals.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's not even close. Yeah. No one in the Western Conference scares me now.
Am I being a little too pragmatic saying that, or at least patient to say, can I see a couple games before I make any proclamations?
Sure. He could have a bump in the road, round one against the Light the Beam Sacramento Kings, and then he's right back in it. He's going to have a 2 week, because I think the Warriors are winning 2 of the next 3. I'm pretty confident they're going to get the 6th seed and play Sacramento in round 1.
Gotcha.
Unforeseen if they lose these next 3 straight and they're on the plan. That would be a disaster, obviously. But I think they're going to have 2 weeks off, or a week off at least, get ramped back up. He's going to start working out with the team. You would think this week, hell, a chance to play against Sacramento maybe, or in Portland, or a game that doesn't. The Portland is the one I'm circling. If you can get him back for that one at least, get him back into at least some sort of stamina.
The little tune-up game at the end of the year?
A little tune-up game. That's exactly what we're calling it there. Shout out to Can of Tune-Up. Love that on a Lent Friday. Good Friday this week, by the way. Can't wait. By the way, real quick, side note to Easter. God bless all the parents out there taking their kids to Easter egg hunting. I sent a picture out on Twitter. It's absolute carnage, Joe Shasky, having 2 to 3 year olds. And there were some of these parents, by the way, quit picking up the eggs for the kid. Let the kids pick them up.
Yeah, what are
You're
you doing?
cheating. All right. I coached Benny. I was right behind him. I was like a jockey on the racehorse. All right, go pick that one. Get that one. Get that one. All right. You coach him up, Joe. Don't pick them up for the kids.
So for
Grinds my
years,
gears.
I'll give you a quick story. For years, we would go up to the Russian River on certain Easters, and we would do Easter egg hunting in the backyard at the river.
Fun, yes.
Now you're up in the mountains or
No,
whatever.
that's great, though. You got a little creek. It's a little harder.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, I don't know. 20 years ago, give or take, I was probably a teenager. Me and my cousin were playing catch. He threw a ball into the bushes. I go into the bushes to go get the ball, and what do you think I came out with? An Easter basket from like 5 years prior.
Wow. Just chilling there?
Just chilling.
What?
Isn't that the most...
Was it like wrecked or like was it
Oh,
just...
well, of course, all the candy and everything was filled with ants and whatnot. But like it was, yes. But it was like an old Easter basket that someone had, hidden, and we clearly had forgotten about it, and I came out of the bushes with it.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny. That was just crazy that it just was sitting there. Like no like animal or anything.
Straight trip.
Yeah, that's funny. Real quick, Giants smashing the White Sox yesterday. Good to see some home runs. Yaz was with the guys yesterday, Willard and Dibbs.
Yeah.
And good to see him breaking out a little bit. David VR, Bryce Johnson, just a confidence booster for Giants fans watching that game yesterday.
Yes, and I think lost in the sauce because the offense is going to get the headlines, rightfully so. We can talk about all that. DeSclafani looks so good. Like that was the old DeSclafani that the Giants thought they were getting after year one. The late light movement on the balls down in the zone. He obviously, when he did get hit, he did not get hit hard. I liked his mix of pitches yesterday, and I thought that he looked completely different. I have no idea because I was listening to Willard and Dibbs. Oh, Vaughn Brown said you need to throw fastball on 3-0. I find that hard to believe. It looked like DeSclafani was doing some red ass stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that whole thing on 3-0, there's more to that story.
No, absolutely.
That was weird. The White Sox were ready to come out and fight him.
Oh, dude. Well, the fans were coming out to fight the White Sox. There were boo birds in the ninth inning. There was 5 runs scored. I was like, why are you guys even still here? It's a blowout.
Kapler, no more Mania out the pen.
Oh, dude. I could have told you he loves giving up bombs. He doesn't just give up bombs, Joe Shasky.
Yeah.
Sean Mania gives up moonshots. We've seen that many a time across the bay. Shout out wild card games galore. But it was a good game.
It was. And I would say that David VR belongs. That's what I would say. I don't know what his ceiling is. I'm not here to say he's some star. He's a big leaguer. He's a guy to me that I want to see him get the 550 to 650 at-bats this year between third base, first base, and maybe an occasional second base.
Absolutely. That's Joe Shasky. He's coming up next with Bonte Hill of the Morning Roast. More Giants talk. Wiggins is back, folks. More Warriors talk. They're taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight at Chase Center. Coverage of that, 6 o'clock, Warriors Live at John Dickinson. Coming up next, Morning Roast, 95.7 The Game.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. An Odyssey station.
Who doesn't love shopping for a new car? It's so much fun. But shopping for financing, nobody likes